Hey there. Hello. Welcome to this week's episode of Next Level Play Therapy. And I want to talk about burnout and imposter syndrome in play therapy. If you've been in play therapy any length of time, from brand spanking new to experience, then the likelihood you've experienced one or both, probably both, at one point in time is really, really high. So I've been in child and adolescent mental health since 1992 when I graduated from university, um, and then got into working with children and adolescents. Prior to that, I was a special ed teacher, and I worked. Now, this is back in the 80s. We did special ed a tiny bit different back then, but I was a teacher, and I had a self-contained classroom, had an aide, we had a whole center. So and prior to that, I've worked with kids and families probably in one capacity or another since college for about 40 years, probably. So over that time, of course, I've experienced burnout and imposter syndrome. And I would say, even as at this point in time, there are times when I feel like I'm a little crispy. And I realize, girl, you better take a little break. Um, and sometimes I get a little lost in the play therapy process. So I feel like this is a topic that we all resonate with, because at one point or another, we've probably all felt these things. And I do a lot of talking with play therapists and professionals, especially when I meet with people and we're talking about Play Therapy Academy and is Play Therapy Academy a good fit for them. A lot of and the trainings that I do, a lot of what I hear from people before they get into Play Therapy Academy, um, or even if they don't get into Play Therapy Academy, when we're talking, a lot of what I hear from people is things like, this is too hard. Maybe I'm not cut out to be a play therapist. That usually comes along during supervision at some point in time. I've heard that one a lot over the last, I've been doing consultation and supervision probably over 15 years now. Let's see, back in 2006. I don't know how far back that is right now. Um, Also, this is too hard. Oh, I read that one already. I'm reading from my list of things. I don't think I'm making a difference for my clients in play therapy because nothing I do seems to help. I hear that one a lot. I'm not doing a good job, and if I try harder, maybe something will help, or maybe I should just quit. The other one is, I feel so drained between my family and work. I I don't feel like I have time to think sometimes. I know a lot of us feel that one over at times here and there. So um, I'm a firm believer in community. One of the things that I have learned is having a community of support to help you through those challenging times and those times when you're feeling a little crispy fried. I remember years, this is probably a couple decades now, when I when I was first in private practice, I had a group of women that I met with. They helped me through so much. They gave me encouragement. They helped me through the tough spots. They gave me ideas, suggestions, kind of helped me figure out where I was stuck. One of the things that they said to me when I was feeling this way, maybe I'm not cut out for this, no matter what I do, nothing seems to work. I remember one time they did a little caring intervention, because this is a small group and I loved meeting with them, man. I was like there every time. That was my lifeline in the beginning. And one of the things they said to me was, "Who's working harder, you or your clients?" And I took me a minute to figure out what they were talking about. And I was thinking, who's working harder? Well, um, I am. Aren't I supposed to be working harder? I'm supposed to be working harder. I'm the therapist. I should be like working so hard. And what I'm about to share is something they shared with me, and it created a shift in me. From then on, I looked at things differently. I still got stuck there several times here and there until I really got better at avoiding that place where I would get stuck all the time, which is they said to me, "You're not responsible for the change," or some version of that. And I was like, "What? What are you talking about?" I didn't say it that way, but I'm sure they looked at my facial expression. What was like, what? Um, and what they explained to me was we aren't responsible for the change that our clients make. We're responsible for showing up and giving suggestions, pointing things out. We're the guide, so to speak. We're the guide on the journey. They're the hero. I love that metaphor of the hero's journey. They're the hero in the story. I'm not the hero in the story. I'm the guide. The hero gets to choose whether or not they listen to my suggestions. And it's ultimately their choice. I'm not responsible for change. I'm responsible for showing up, being therapeutically present, having skills and abilities, but they're responsible for the change. And that created such a shift in me. And so I'm a firm believer in the power of community, the power of support. We're a relational field, profession. This is a relational career. What I mean by that is we show up people to people. We show up therapeutically, bring all of who we are into the therapeutic relationship. It's therapeutic relationship, right? So it's got boundaries around it. There's a professionalism that is necessary, and yet we still show up with all of who we are in this kind of relationship, which means we're going to feel burned out at times, a little crispy, especially if we have a lot of things going on in our personal lives, like we do, because life happens to all of us. Nobody is immune from the ups and downs of life. And again, I feel like when we're in a community, then we have that support because we are in the mental health profession. There's only so much support we can get from friends and family, partners, because of the privacy. So having that place where people get it, they understand the profession, they understand what's going on, can be so helpful to do this over the long haul, right? We look at this from a long-term perspective, not just in the now. How are we working to stay in this profession that most of I would say pretty much when I talk to people, pretty much everyone I've ever talked to, really. I'm sure there were some that I don't know. I can't think of anybody who didn't, but I think most of us, if you're a play therapist, if you're in the mental health profession, you got into this because you feel called to help. You feel like it's a mission, or you're what you give back to the world. This is we join because we feel called to do it. It's not necessarily just a job. we feel like it's our mission in life to help people. And in our particular type of helping is mental health helping. And if you're a play therapist, then you feel particularly called to help children, adolescents, and their families. And so it's not just something we do to earn a paycheck, it's something we feel called to do, which means if we're not taking care of ourselves, if we're not getting support, then we're going to get burned out, right? That's just a reality of the situation. And when I think about burnout, I don't think about other things that I need to do. I used to hate that word because they would give you this back in the day. I mean, this may be 15 years ago. They'd give you a list of things you need to do. Now, mind you, I am going to talk about some things to do today, but I'm hoping these are things that are not going to make you feel like you're just like one more task. I used to hate that. Like people would talk about burnout, and I'm like, oh, they're just going to give me another list of things I have to do. That's just going to irritate me. But I think it's more than that. I think it's really thinking about a way of going about this profession in a different way, not just adding tasks to the things you have to do. I think there's a shift. Like for me, the shift was I'm not responsible for my clients' change. That took such a burden off of me. Now, mind you, it didn't work right away. It took I had to I had to go through that process quite a few times before it actually stuck. And where I could say, yep, nope, not my job. Now, it doesn't mean sometimes, we're relational. Sometimes things are going to bother us. And having a place to go to bring that and let go of it can be really, really helpful. So, if you're joining me live today, I would love to know who's here. Post your name in the comments. What population do you work with? If you're watching here on Instagram, I'd love to know who's watching, where you're from, what population you're working with. If you're watching on LinkedIn and YouTube and in my Facebook group, I would love to know who's here. Go ahead and post your names. If you're watching on the replay, I still want to know. I'd love to hear from you. And for those of you who are listening on the podcast, I'd love to hear from you as well. Post your name, post your comments, join the conversation. The only thing that I ask is not to share specific information about specific clients. This is a public format, so I do want to make sure that we're all protecting privacy. So let's get started. So for you guys listening or watching, what are your biggest struggles that leave you feeling a little burned out, a little overwhelmed when your imposter syndrome kicks in? Have you had any of those thoughts that I mentioned earlier when we got started? Post those in the comments. So what I want to do is I'm going to go over some things that I think will help. I know the topic I find like community, I think is meaningful for me because one of the things that I've realized as I've been doing consultation over the last 15 plus years, and especially in Play Therapy Academy. So I'll talk a little bit more about Play Therapy Academy at the end. Play Therapy Academy is my online play therapy consultation program. It's a small group, so you have a lot of support. We do coaching. You get a lot of dedicated time on talking about your cases. We have a group chat feature where we get support in between sessions. There's courses in there. So what I try to create is a community of really high hands-on support so that when you're struggling, you have a place to go and get support. And one of the things that I found about Play Therapy Academy is when we talk and I get feedback, if you've listened to like some of my previous live stream episodes or the podcast, I've been having some of the members of Play Therapy Academy come on and talk about those areas of expertise that they have, because it's just amazing to me how much talent that we have in the group. Now, here's the thing. There's most people, pretty much everybody, not all, but most people coming into Play Therapy Academy feel like this is too hard. I'm going to read my list again. This is too hard. Maybe I'm not cut out to be a play therapist. I don't think I'm making a difference. I'm not doing a good job. I don't know what I'm doing. They come into Play Therapy Academy thinking, oh, I'm not going to really contribute much. I'm really just getting started. And then what happens is we start discussing cases. They start sharing their insights, and it's like gold. And so we give them a lot of positive feedback as well, like very insightful. We're an insightful bunch. And so I think that to me is the magic of community, where you get everyone's expertise and support, not just in the case of Play Therapy Academy, not just my support and my wisdom and insights. You get the whole group. So here's some things that we talk about a lot in Play Therapy Academy. I've talked about this in other live stream episodes or podcast episodes, and that is the importance of protecting your time and setting boundaries. So to me, this is not just something, this is more of a way of being. It's a shift in how you show up as a therapeutic professional in this therapeutic relationship with your client. And it's really about understanding roles and responsibilities, which is, what am I responsible for? And what are you, client, responsible for? And so as a play therapist, we're working with kids. We're also working with parents and families or caregivers or whoever is in that parenting role for the child, which means who's responsible for change, right? Thinking about that with play therapy, who's responsible for the change? I'm the guide. I'm not the hero. The hero is responsible for the change, which means parents as much as the kids. Parents are responsible for they're the therapeutic agent of change for their child and their family. So protecting your time and boundaries and setting boundaries means thinking about how much time can you actually give, right? How much mental energy, how much showing up therapeutically, putting myself out there time after time after time, session after session after session. What am I doing in between sessions to get a little rejuvenated? What do you guys do in between sessions? For me, that cleaning up time, I schedule 45-minute sessions. I know it's now, and I get it with insurance. If you're here in the United States, I totally get it. Doing the 53 minutes, I totally get that. And somehow in between, you got to figure out how to shift and kind of reset in between sessions, whether it's just like taking a mindful moment, doing breathing, shaking things out, doing little somatic exercises, right? For me, it was always like cleaning up a little bit. If I had a lot of time between sessions, just kind of mindfully cleaning up in between sessions. I didn't always have that. Sometimes it was more a matter of taking some breaths, being mindfully present, getting myself kind of reset in between sessions. But be realistic about how much time you have available, and protect. This is a big one. Protect your time in between sessions with those phone calls, text reminders, and email communications. I always, if you have listened to anything, especially when I'm talking about working with parents, we talk about this in Play Therapy Academy a lot, which is don't respond via email. Don't make those phone calls and take those crisis calls. And like, make sure you're scheduling parent sessions. And there's a whole strategy around doing that. It's because sometimes it feels like you're chasing squirrels around the room trying to get people to schedule with you because people are busy. Life goes on for everybody. But this is where parents help. Your job is to help them understand their role in the change process. And one of the things that means is they have to meet with you regularly. And that's where you do your updates. Those 5-minute check-in. I'm not a fan of the 5-minute check-ins at the end of the session or the beginning. If you've listened to any of my previous episodes, if you're in Play Therapy Academy, then you will definitely have heard that. If you've listened to any previous podcast episodes or live stream replays, or you will have heard me talk about that. Protect your time. Have dedicated times when you're meeting with parents. That's going to free up time in between sessions. Here's the thing. I wanted to read this card to you. I'm hoping I'll get through everything today. I'm going to speed up a little bit because I'm looking at the time. So I love these cards. They're called archetype cards by Carolyn Miss. I use these all the time. I've talked about them in another thing. Other episodes, I've talked about them in trainings as well. But they're archetypes. So archetypes are concepts from a Jungian therapy perspective. Archetypes are concepts that transcend time and culture, like throughout time and culture, mother, right? Or father or queen. These are concepts that have transcended time and culture. And around archetypes are light and shadow aspects, meaning not like positive and negative things that happen, right? And so there's a card in here that when I first read it I've had these for years, probably, I'm going to say probably over 15 years. I love these cards. You can still get them, by the way. And there's a card in here that for me, if you go back to what I talked about when I had my own consultation group of the women who kind of challenged me, who's responsible for change. And, we all feel called. This is a calling. We want to do well. We have a mission in life to help people, right? So when I read this, I thought, oh my gosh, here it is again. But anyways, this one is Messiah. And I'm going to read you the light attributes, AKA positive aspects, and the shadow attributes, AKA negative aspects. Now we have both. We always have both. We need to be aware of both. We want to minimize shadow, accentuate the light. So the light attribute is serving humanity with humility. And I could resonate, like serving, right? We feel like we want to serve. We want to do it with humility. Here's the shadow aspect. This was me. This was so totally me. Exaggerated belief that you are the only means through which a cause can succeed. Ouch, that one hurt. But think about it. Who's responsible for change? I'm not. I'm the guide. I'm not the hero. I am not responsible. I can show up as an awesome guide. I want to be the best guide possible. It's always my goal. And I'm the guide. I'm Gandalf in this story, not Frodo. I'm Dumbledore. I'm not Harry, right? I'm the guide. So that's to me is one of the big things. The next thing to make sure, and this one does kind of add something to your list of to-dos, but to me, again, it's a way of being. And we do have to prioritize our own growth and time for healing. So it's not selfish to take time for yourself. Going on a retreat, go get a massage, get a mani-pedi, go outside, go hiking. For me, getting outdoors, going hiking just refreshes my soul. Spending time with my family refreshes my soul. Um, Getting massage, right? Doing those little things. Go on a retreat. Schedule a professional retreat where you can get learning and some refreshing, reinvigorating all at the same time. To me, sometimes going to trainings is a way to reset and get reinvigorated. Um, so this is how you're going to fill up your bucket, right? We tell clients all the time, parents, you can't give away what you don't possess, meaning if you don't fill your well up, you're not going to be able to overflow and give water to your clients to help them grow and thrive. We have to fill up as well because we give out all day long. Every client session, we are giving out. We've got to find those times of refilling and refreshing. So, what are some things that you guys do to refresh, to fill back up? Post those in the comments. Would love to hear those. And then the third thing is that I want to talk about, and I've kind of talked about it um, already a lot. Like when I talk about Play Therapy Academy, talked a little bit about that. I talked about the women that early on, the group of women that I met with. And that is the benefit of using community support. And to me, I really feel like this is a big one, getting into a community of support. And as play therapists, how many of you are in settings where you're the only play therapist? Maybe you're even in a setting where people do different types of expressive modalities, but there's no play therapist. Or maybe you're in private practice and it's just you. Or maybe you're in an agency and you're the only child and adolescent therapist. You're the only play therapist. Let me rephrase that. You're the only play therapist. You know, when I got started years ago, this is back in the early 90s, I had been introduced to play therapy when I was a special education teacher. Our school social worker and school psychologist were learning this thing about play therapy back in the 80s. And then I ended up doing a play therapy group with the kids in my class, with the psychologist. I was transformed. Like the minute I experienced that, that set me on a trajectory of realizing I don't want to be a teacher. I want to do this therapy thing that the school psychologist is talking about. So I went back to grad school and so on. But I remember when I got out of grad school and got my first job, there was a playroom, but nobody knew how to do play therapy. And I wanted to do it. But the prevailing thought was, they're kids, it'll be fine, just play with them. And it felt horrible. And then went on to other agencies and same kind of thing. Oh, they're kids, they have games, just play with them, get them to talk, it'll be fine. But it didn't feel good, to be honest. It felt terrible. I still hear that today. I don't know how many of you maybe are experiencing that, but when I meet with people to talk with them about Play Therapy Academy, that's the thing that I hear over and over and over still. And it doesn't feel good because there's more and we feel called. This is our mission. We want to do a good job. We want to be the best guide possible to make a real impact in the world, helping children heal. And to me, if you don't have a community of support, it can feel overwhelming. Your imposter syndrome, feeling like you're not doing a good job or your clients aren't progressing because you're doing a terrible job, worrying at any moment in time parents are going to figure out that you really are not very good and they're going to pull their child from treatment with you, which will validate that you're a horrible play therapist. All of those things we worry about. And the likelihood you are doing a really good job is very high, but you just don't know it. And to me, that's where community comes in, is having that level of support. So the benefits of having community or being in a community of play therapists are being able to collaborate and share ideas. That's one of the things what I hear all the time in Play Therapy Academy is when members talk about what's their favorite thing about Play Therapy Academy. And I've been having guests on as guest speakers from Play Therapy Academy. And when we talk about Play Therapy Academy, the number one thing they say all the time is community. There's a community of support available to give you the cheerleading that you need when you're having a tough week. Like, we're here for you, pointing out all the good things you're doing, because we watch videos and we see, we take a look at themes in sand trays through some pictures and things like that, and can see all the good things that you're doing that when you're by yourself, you don't always see it, right? So sharing ideas, like the collective wisdom of the group and knowledge of different areas where they want to specialize, like their specific play therapy model, and sharing ideas of things to do with different interventions. Another is getting emotional support and validation to avoid burnout, and reduce your imposter syndrome. Like in Play Therapy Academy, one of the things uh, all the time I hear all the time is, "Oh, I'm going to miss this week." Or like Malia in Play Therapy Academy will say all the time, "Wednesday's my favorite day. I look forward to this time because because she gets her needs met. We share, we support each other, we connect, we learn, we grow together." And Leah and Cindy, who were previous guests, talked about their favorite thing about Play Therapy Academy is getting that support from the group, getting different ideas, getting that validation. When you're in a community, you have that ability, right? That's one of the things I love about Play Therapy Academy as well, is I love watching I, I love watching the support that members give each other. And it's not just me, like I may hone in on one thing, but then somebody else will share something else, that because I was so focused on one thing that I didn't think about this other thing. So I feel like we get with the different members, everybody brings something. Even people who are new have so much insight and wisdom, and then they get support, like, "Oh, I really do know things." I know for me, that's what I got out of having support when I was meeting with a community, but also when I got consultation, because I thought I was probably, my imposter syndrome was huge, and every week I would go and get support, and my consultant would point out all the good things that I'm doing. Okay, so full disclosure here, I don't know if you guys can hear my dog. So the door is closed to my office here at home, and my dogs are outside. Usually, when my husband goes off to work, he will open the door to my office and he'll let the dogs in. But he didn't this time. So my dog is outside my door, like scratching on the door, trying to get in. And she definitely wants in. And you know how that door stopper thing, sometimes it makes that boingy sound. Anyway, she is not happy that I'm not letting her in. She will survive. All righty, because I want to get through this. The other benefit is you grow in your clinical skills, and that confidence decreases your imposter syndrome as you get more feedback from the community that you're in, as you get other ideas and hear different ways of thinking about things from the people in your community. Then you feel more confident, which then that's going to reduce your imposter syndrome. You're going to realize you know more than you think you know. You're going to realize, oh, I'm actually pretty good at this. And that's going to make you feel good, which is going to make you feel like you're fulfilling that purpose that you feel called to in being a play therapist or a mental health professional. And then also, you're going to feel like you're getting better results for your clients. You're going to stay inspired, which is going to help you avoid stagnation and burnout. So, all of these things I think are the benefit of being in a community. And I know in Play Therapy Academy, because we have a schedule, people will do case presentations to have that dedicated time. So, if you're doing one-on-one consultation and that's your play therapy community, or if you're in a group and you have a community of play therapists that you're in a consultation group or something, or you just have an informal group that you're meeting with, then you have that time where you can talk about some of your cases and you feel inspired by that and learn skills, avoid burnout, all of those things. So that is it for today. Let me just do a quick recap. Some of the ways to avoid burnout and get rid of your imposter syndrome, to avoid burnout for sure, which is to make sure you set boundaries, make sure you prioritize your time, schedule parent sessions, have a dedicated time. Don't respond to those emails, voicemails, and text messages. Or if you're getting the 911 calls, then just say, hey, this is a longer conversation. Let's schedule a time for you to come in. When are you available tomorrow? Or when are you available today? And then schedule the time. And then also prioritizing your own personal growth and time for yourself to fill up your well. Make sure you set that time aside. Have some type of way in between sessions where you reset. Make sure also to schedule time to go and do things you enjoy. Like for me, that's hiking or sometimes going to training, sometimes not. But also on the weekends, I just have some quiet meditation time in the morning where I listen to music or I do some meditation or journaling. That's my way of kind of staying grounded, spending time with family. What are things that you do? What are things you do to stay grounded, to fill your well back up? I'd love to hear those. Post those in the comments. And then also just getting into a community of support where you can have people give you feedback, help you figure out maybe where you're stuck, help give you ideas, share resources, cheer you on, tell you you're doing a good job. All of these things that are going to help you feel refreshed and revitalized and reduce your imposter syndrome, where you realize you are doing a better job than you think you are. So that is it for today. If you're interested in Play Therapy Academy, I do have I have a couple of openings left. These, when they fill up the spot, I don't have open. So I have a limited group size. So when the spots are filled, then nobody else is in the group until there's some openings and somebody leaves. So we do have openings in the group right now. So if you're interested in Play Therapy Academy, then schedule a video call with me. We're going to put the link in the comments. Also, you can pop over to my website at rhplaytherapytraining.com. Pop over to the supervision page. So it's rhplaytherapytraining.com supervision. You'll see Play Therapy Academy, and then you can read about what it is. Schedule the call. It's a free call, no obligation. We'll just chat, see if it's a good fit for you. Because I want to make sure it is a good fit. People tend to stay for a while, and they'll kind of rotate. There's no minimum, there's no maximum. You stay as long as it's useful. There's courses that we have in there. We have a group chat, and also we meet twice a month, and there's dedicated time where we staff your cases. You're learning from other people's cases as well as your own feedback. You learn from the feedback given to other people. So it's really, I would say, what people say all the time, what they love about Play Therapy Academy is the community, that sense of community and having support. And people look forward to our meetings. So if you're interested, or if that's something you feel like would be useful for you, then schedule that video call with me. And I will, and the links are in the comments. So check out the comments or pop over to my website at rhplaytherapytraining.com/supervision, Renewing Hearts Play Therapy Training. Pop over to that supervision page. All righty. I will see you guys next week. Bye for now.